order. I don't know why I hate the gavel so much. All right, we need a motion to go into closed session.
No,
Or, oh,
this
I'm
is
sorry, a
a-
motion to, it's not a closed session. We need a motion.
You just called it.
Right, it's not a closed session. It is too early for me to be a professional.
I second that.
Yes, it is way too early. And I don't, the paper format's throwing me off.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, let's call it to order.
All right.
All right, now we need, this really is kind of throwing me off a little bit.
Different here. You want a
Move to
regular
accept.
one too?
Move
Yeah.
to accept the resignation of Board Member Chris Bill.
Thank you, I'm
From the
even
Harrisonville
lost where I'm at.
Cass R9 Board of Education.
That's what we need.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
I had some discussion.
Okay.
So Chris has resigned as a board member. Are we required, do we have to appoint somebody for 2 months before the election?
We do not have to.
Okay. Because I was reading through that, I'm like, they shall do this and shall do something else. And I'm like, it's 2 months before the election. Do we really need somebody? We've got a quorum.
We have a quorum. My one concern would be, what do we do if there is a tie vote? If it's a 3-3, what do we do then?
That's a good point.
So we do not have
Highly
to do it.
unlikely.
It's unlikely, but what do we do in that case? I
Paul
don't.
can break a tie.
No, you can't.
He said, "Mm-mm."
Get me out of this. I'm an employee.
So I agree that it is highly unlikely, but I mean, we're doing here today is discussing what our options are and making that decision move forward. So
Well, and even if you go through the process as outlined in the board policy, you're 4 weeks out,
Right.
3 weeks
Right.
out, so you're potentially through the next board meeting.
correct.
You have to schedule a special meeting. Do we know, Paul, is there anything coming that potentially, contentious wouldn't be the right word, but is there anything coming the next 2 months that might be significant enough that we couldn't afford to have a tie? The bond issues, we have that done already.
Right. We've got March personnel meeting, and there's always issues around personnel. So
But a new person wouldn't be familiar with those issues.
No, but a new person would have the right to vote.
Here would be my
so-
suggestion. Let's go ahead and vote on the resignation because there is
Board policy
board
BBE's
policy
on there, and that's where
is
you talk
where
about
we
the
will
process.
follow up with
Oh,
this
okay,
discussion.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm there
So
now.
we're not having it. We're just going to move it down on the agenda where it's at.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and vote on the resignation. We've got a first and a motion and a second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We will move on to C, the election of the board vice president. We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to nominate Doug as the vice president of the school board.
Second.
Okay.
That's
I'd like to
all
make a
right.
motion that I would nominate myself as vice president of the school board.
Have a second. So the motion stands for Doug Meyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is that what you meant, or were you nominating
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I should have said Doug Meyer. I
I figured
apologize.
Susan was
You
going
were
to ask.
referring to yourself in the first person.
I thought Susan was going to look at you and ask.
Okay, moving on to the board policy BBE. We need a motion.
Make a
Can you
motion
hang
for the
that
board.
up just a second
Yes,
here?
yes.
That was a lot.
What do we do? I think it's this.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make the motion that the Board of Education discuss the process outlined in board
Oh,
policy.
we don't
BB.
have to make a motion.
Oh, you
to
don't?
discuss.
We got
Oh,
this one?
okay.
Okay,
Only if you're going to take action do you make a motion.
gotcha.
And then I'm also to assume that this doesn't remove his name from the ballot just because he resigned
Correct.
from the thing. So he stays on the ballot. Okay.
Yep.
And what this does then is allow him to campaign against the levy increase and the bond increase if that's what he
His
wants to do.
resignation,
Yeah,
it takes him off of the board. He is
right. And that's what I'm
municipal
trying to
civilian now.
say is, so now he's removed himself from the board, that frees him up to campaign against our levy increase, and then possibly be elected and be back on the board.
That is correct. So the question was, do we need to fill the position? That's a legitimate question. We can suspend board policy. That has been done in the past. We can suspend board policy and appoint someone at the next meeting. Or we could not suspend board policy. Phil, remind me of the steps on that. If we don't suspend board policy, you want to go ahead and move forward with appointing someone that last bit of time. How does that work?
We would declare an opening today. I have to post it in the newspapers just like I would normally do. You have to allow at least 2 weeks for applications. There's a process that they fill out, much like when you sign up for a regular board candidacy. And then we would have to have a meeting to do interviews, and then you would appoint someone. So it would be at least a 2-week process.
Okay.
And that's getting everything advertised. So it'd probably be 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Okay. So those are our 3 options.
Go over them again, Tina.
To do nothing and just leave it with the 6 of us. Suspend the board.
I believe you would need to suspend the board. Correct me if I'm wrong.
We'd still have to suspend the board policy to not
because
go
you're
through the-
not
okay,
following it.
So either way, we would be suspending the board policy if we're just going to leave it with the 6 of us. Suspend it and appoint someone, or
Go through
follow
board
board
process.
policy.
Go through the full process.
I have been on the board when we've done both. So
We have done all 3 in the past.
Okay.
So we have a precedence of doing all of those things. So
I know Gina would be an awesome appointee, but I don't know that she would take it for just 2 months. I haven't talked to her. So
she's in Florida right
I would say
now.
even if she's in country.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's-
If she's
I'm
been
not
in the
sure.
country,
Not
right?
here.
Yeah.
That would be a possibility.
Daryl
If we're
Shelton
worried about
filled in.
Daryl
There's a lot
Shelton's
of people.
There's a lot of
throwing
people
names
that we
out
could
there.
Sure.
appoint.
Deb Wellhall.
If we're worried about a tie.
Yeah. So I don't know that today's the day we decide who that would be. Today's the day we decide what we're going to do, and then we can kind of move forward from there.
I guess my
We're also allowed to solicit. I mean, we can reach out to folks and say, if we go that route, we could reach out to them and say, hey, we have an opening. Are you interested? If so, you need to apply.
I think my suggestion would be that if we had something that came up where we needed, and there was a tie that happened, then perhaps that would be the time to appoint somebody. I don't foresee that happening in the next 2 months. I just don't think anything that drastic that we don't agree on is going to happen. And to my way of thinking, this board has gelled together so well. I like the way it operates, and I don't know. I just feel like this is, for the next 2 months, okay. That's just me.
So you would suspend board policy and leave it with the 6 of us. Okay. Okay.
Do you want to make that motion?
Well, I think we should talk about
Right.
Oh, okay.
What's everybody else's thoughts on that?
I agree with Nancy.
I don't see any major issues. Now, if we were working on levy issues, bond issues, then I think you need to be
More
prepared.
input.
But I don't see anything coming in the next 2 months, or the 1 month, because by the time we
Yeah.
get somebody on
Right.
board, you're going to be through.
Well, and even with personnel, I mean, you do an extraordinarily good job of making sure that we are abreast of any situations that are coming up where unless something major were to happen.
What about everybody's schedule? Are the next 2 board meetings, everybody? I don't think we have any problem with that. We can do the TV, the Snapchat, whatever it is. So.
Oh, for regular meetings?
Regular meetings.
Those are scheduled far enough out, I think.
Remember, the March one is the last Tuesday, and I've had that in the Friday letter, but just as a reminder.
Good reminder.
So if we go the route of we'll open it up, post it, we have 2 weeks, nobody applies, then we suspend and move on that way. We don't have to do it that way. If we open it up, somebody applies or whatever, and it says we do the interviews, right? And then we select a person based off of that. They're in for the two months, and then they just fall off because we have the elections. They're not on the election.
Really only be the 1 month because
Yeah,
by the
because
2
by time
weeks,
February,
You'll be through the
February's
February
short
meeting.
month. Yeah.
2 weeks from tomorrow is the 20th, and you've already had the February board meeting.
And throwing a brand new person in when you're going over personnel.
That'll
That'd
be
be a lot.
another another meeting for us to do the whole process thing.
Yep.
It just seems like
A lot of work for a little bit of time.
It does. I don't know that there's really a right or wrong way
there's
to
not.
go about it because there's just such a small amount of time. If we were talking about a bigger amount of time.
Right.
Okay, now I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, let her rip.
I make a motion that we suspend board policy
BBE.
BBE.
BBE and do not fill the vacancy left by Mr. Bell's resignation.
I'll second that.
Hang on a second.
Add until the election.
Yeah.
Because by state statute, you have to have 7 board members. So.
What?
By state statute.
Well, just until the election. I think you might want to
Yeah.
add that.
So
to-
amend the
Okay.
motion to say until the election.
Okay,
Oh,
I have
sure. Yeah.
to suspend board policy BBE and not fill the board vacancy left by Chris Bell until the April election. Okay?
Yep.
We have a motion and a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, now we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you.